Welcome to Female Fluence. We are a place of women empowering women. This is a safe environment where females are not judged nor afraid to flourish. My goal is to help you live an energized life of balance, whether as a mom, a wife, or in your profession. It is time to have self-worth and self-compassion. Live in the present moment and surround yourself with only healthy connections. So join me, Promash Shua, a woman empowerment life coach, an educator, and a mother of three, to help take you on a journey of true identity and inspiration. What does it mean to be the best version of yourself? Is it conforming to what others want you to do? Is it doing what is needed to fit in, to feel accepted or loved? Or is it always meeting expectations? Maybe it's about discovering your talents and passions. Could it be about understanding your values? Let's pause and let these questions sink in. Today, we are going to explore the importance of personal growth. Instead of focusing on outcomes or what you'll gain from your next adventure, be present and concentrate on who you are becoming in the process. Choose growth consciousness over goal consciousness. By doing so, you'll be able to see the best version of yourself emerge. My guest today is Brad Dalton, who's an experienced educator, life coach, success coach, and public speaker. Brad strongly advocates for education, the overlooked, the underappreciated, and the individuals who are ready to tap into their future best selves. He is skilled in coaching team management, team building, and relationships. Brad also helps others climb on to the positive train and create the best versions of themselves, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Throughout his journey, he has learned the lessons of learning into struggle, soaking up the positives, and understanding what real success looks like. Brad, thank you so much for being on Female Fluence today. Welcome to my show.
Oh my goodness. I could just listen to you talk for the entire episode. You just keep going. That all sounds really good.
Thank you so much. So, Brad, let's start by us. I know you're an educator, but give us your backstory. How did you come to where you are today?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. Most people that have a little bit of success in life will tell you that it's kind of accumulation of things. And ultimately, what really helped me hit the pavement and really punch the gas in life was when I was fortunate enough to have a kiddo on the autism spectrum. And initially that felt like a gut punch, felt like life had just punched me right in the throat. But I soon came to realize that really everything I need to know in life, as a parent, as a friend, as a leader, as a community member, as anything, I could learn from parenting a kiddo on the spectrum. Aggressive patience, ferocious happiness, being selectively aggressive, being adaptable, flexible, overcoming, embracing you name it. I've had to become somewhat of an expert in all these things for my own sanity, because I care, because I wanted to give my little man the best life possible. I had to take on the identity of all these things. It wasn't a choice. I guess technically it was a choice, but for someone that wants to be great, you really don't have a choice. Choice is an illusion. So yeah, there's just been lots of trials and tribulations and falling on my face and getting back up. And I've been fortunate to have a lot of great people in my life that have helped me along the way.
That's incredible. I know you're an educator, and I'm actually, my background is education. I used to be a teacher as well. We get trained for a lot of these things, and we're in a classroom and we have kids with all sorts of different problems and disabilities that we have to work with, but it's so different when it's your own child. So your
Yeah.
perspective changes. So when I listen to you, I completely understand, because as a teacher, you try to give the tools, and you're there, and you're reading the books, and you're guiding the parents, and you're helping them like take every step. But when it happens to yourself, it's like, whoa, okay, like everything that you already know, it's like, wait, how am I supposed to apply all those things that I have been teaching my parents
Right.
to guide myself with my own
Yeah.
family? So I
Yeah.
completely empathize and understand what you're talking about. Now, you had said true wealth comes from the unfolding of who we become. And I just thought that was such a powerful statement. So I wanted you to kind of elaborate on it.
Yes. Well, I think the greatest teachers, coaches, leaders in the world don't ever really feel like they've reached it. If you're successful, you don't really believe you've reached it. You really believe that you're always in the state of becoming.
Mhm.
And it's really not what we get in life, it's who we become in our journey. All the good stuff in life comes from the journey. You could be handed $1 million. That's not going to make you happy. I mean, you look at most of the best things in your life. The best things in your life were things that were tough. Like a
So
great
true.
relationship, right? A great
Right.
relationship is tough. I will have been married 24 years in 13 days.
I just had my 25th wedding anniversary.
There you
So we're
go.
right there.
Yeah. Not easy, right?
No,
And then kiddos, I mean, the greatest gift I've ever, I mean, maybe in my entire life, or my two boys. Not easy.
no.
Uh, I mean, most of the greatest things in our life, but what makes them great is everything that's happened in the journey. And so the unfolding story of who we become, that's the juice. That's the juice. The success road is the juice. Success is at the end of the road. Success is the road.
I
And I,
love that. I
you
love
know,
that, because I feel like so many of us are trapped. Like we're always thinking about like the next thing versus like, it's like, oh, well, I'm not successful. I haven't gotten this position. I haven't done this. It's really about the journey. And you
yeah,
don't even know what's going to happen the next day in your life. So if you're not really experiencing the present and the journey, then you're like missing out on everything, on all the wealth, like you're saying,
oh,
right?
I, I have, and I'm sure you're the same way. I have countless stories in my life where I actually, outside looking in, it looks like Brad won. Brad got everything he wanted. But when I was younger and didn't totally get it, and I chased destinations and I chased achievement and these kind of things, external validation type things, I might have, I might have supposedly gotten what I wanted, but all I did when I was finished was exhale. I didn't even enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
You know what I mean? I think that, and maybe I'm getting off topic here, so you just tell B Dalton here to pump the brakes here if you need to. But like a person, you brought up growth in the intro. As I've gotten along in this journey, I'm become more of a growth conscious guy and less of a goal conscious guy. I would encourage your listeners to become more growth conscious and less goal conscious. Goal conscious, and we all need goals. You and I both have goals, but people who strictly rely on their goals are aiming to win one time. Because as you mentioned, now they're thinking, what's next? Like you
Hmm.
accomplish this. Whereas a person who's growth conscious is prepared to win repeatedly because they don't ever feel like they've reached it. They're winning
Right.
repeatedly. Every day they have a chance to win. Their toes touch the floor. They can be grateful every day because they're always chasing the identity of the person they wish to become. That to me is success.
I completely agree with you. And I feel like, especially right now with our kids, like the way the school system and the college and the stress, they're not even able to enjoy their college years. College is done. We have to worry about, am I going to get to the right law school? I'm going to get to the right medical school, what my graduate school. And
Yeah.
then before in high school, it's all about the college. It's just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
They're really, I mean, I feel like things have changed so much, and I really worry about the fact that this is just going to continue and just get worse. And then
Yeah.
their anxiety level will get worse as a result of all this.
Through the roof. Yeah, you're a former educator and you're on this platform, so technically you're educating people every day. K through 12. there are no classes that address the stuff that you just talked about. Like there's a lot of great content. I'm not saying English, science,
Hmm.
math. I'm not saying those things aren't important, but we have an epidemic with the 6 inches between our ears right now. And it just doesn't happen when they get to college. It started happening in elementary. It started happening in middle school, in high
Right.
school. And there's very few classes, a lot of phenomenal teachers, but there's very few classes that address, and teachers are stressed out.
Of course.
They don't feel appreciated, and they feel like they have to make sure that their kids reach these test scores and reach this data. And so the stuff that's getting squeezed out is the stuff that helps translate that content to success.
I mean,
That's
I
my
feel like
take.
when I was teaching elementary, but it was the same thing. It was like you really had to teach to the standards. If there was like a teaching moment and I just wanted to kind of get really deep and have like a beautiful lesson about it, it was like, no, you have to write the standard on the board. And if someone came in, from the district and they look in and you're doing something incredible and the kids are so engaged and they're having a great time and they're learning, but if it's not according to the standard, then I wasn't doing my job. And
Yeah,
that was just hard to take in.
it's not right.
Yeah.
It's not right. By the way, my heart is with the ankle biters. I work with mostly adults now, but man, I love those ankle biters. What grade did you teach?
I did second grade for a while and third grade, and I loved it. It's like, well, when they're smaller, they just appreciate and love you
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
much. Very, very rewarding. I loved it when I was doing it, definitely.
For
And I
sure.
do miss it. So,
Yeah.
but things change in your life. I know you touched a little bit about it earlier, but what do you think makes a really good leader?
Well, I think great leaders ask a lot of great questions.
So
And
curiosity.
yeah, curiosity should be a catalyst for every successful person because the growth part is the fun part. And even if you're doing well, we can still get better. And for me, being stagnant, being complacent, not looking to stretch myself, I don't think that's success. Great leaders view relationships as king. I think first and foremost, they want to make relationships their foundation of everything. So from the moment they step foot in the building to the moment they leave, they are trying to build relationships.
Hmm.
You can't make money without building relationships. You can't enjoy anything. No one's going to enjoy you
Right.
if you don't have great relationships. So I think that's number one. I would also say that super leaders are super listeners. They're slow to speak and they're quick to listen. The whole world's looking for acceptance, belonging, connection.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And if you're a super listener, now people are feeling heard. And if people feel heard, they're going to feel accepted. They're going to feel like they belong. They're going to feel like connection. And now they're going to be willing to stretch themselves for you because they feel comfortable and they feel like they can have the courage to do these things. But if
Yes.
they don't feel any of those things, they won't want to stretch themselves. And if people don't stretch themselves, they don't grow.
Basically, it really goes back all to relationships because when you have a good relationship, you're listening, you're hearing the person, you're seeing the person, you have a connection with the person, and that's where you can have success, right? Like if you
Oh,
work
yeah.
in an environment, you have a great relationship with your boss, you want to do well. You go to work excited because you have that relationship versus someone who's going hates their boss and they're just kind of dilly-dallying all day just to make those 8 hours go through fast so you can just go home and you're not being efficient and
Yeah.
nothing's being done and there's no growth. So
Yeah.
you nailed it. That's exactly right. So Brad, given everything, because I know you've been through a lot, what lessons have you learned in the process that you can teach our listeners today? If you can pick maybe one, like I know there's a bunch, but your most important.
Wow. Ask yourself not what do I want to achieve? Ask yourself who do I want to become? I've that's been a biggie for me in the X amount of years and with the people I work with. We just got to reframe things a little differently. We got to reframe things. Like most people are chasing things
Yes.
when
Can
what
you
we
repeat
should
that
be.
again so we make sure that because that was beautiful. That's like a great quote.
Let's see. I'll try to say that. ask not what we want to achieve, ask who it is we wish to become.
Become. It's the
And
becoming.
yes, we want to chase an identity. We want our people and we want to groom chasing behaviors. We don't want to chase things. We don't want to chase external validation.
Mm-hmm.
We want to chase, if I want to be, this person, if I want to be a writer, what are some of the things that a writer does that I have to do so that can become that? If I want to be a great parent, if I want to be a great husband or wife, if I want to be, elite at anything, who is it I need to become? Like, what do I need to do to become that? I'm
Right.
going to chase an identity. And so, there's a whole process to that. You start creating lists and you start creating these are the things I need to do. And then with like what I do, we track habits a lot. And so we have habit audits and we track our habits and we hold ourselves accountable and the people we love and our community accountable. And the end goal is to become that.
It's interesting because I actually interviewed a wonderful habit coach a while back. And it's so important if you have the right habits and you forget, like if you start following and see what horrible habits that you have, whether it's just being like critical all the time to yourself constantly and being a negative person and you don't even realize it. But once you really look in and stop, and like you're saying, you make that list and you realize it, then you can start making those changes slowly. So my next question is, as this is something I always feel like such a struggle. Like I see it and I'm really trying in the last few years. I feel like everyone is so rushed. We live in this fast-paced world where it's like constantly you feel rushed. You're going from one thing to another, and then there's a phone in front of you. So you can't even put away your phone for work, the emails and the notifications and the text messages. So it's so hard to be present. I'm really like, that has been my number one goal, is just to be present. And I wasn't like this before. Like I would go on vacation, I would be thinking about like when I'm with my kids, instead of enjoying the moment. Oh, when I get back, I have this. Oh my gosh, like when are we getting back? There's no way. I'm in this moment. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So can you just share your thoughts about the truth and the importance of slowing down? Because I especially feel like in America. Because I feel like when you go to Europe and you go to other places, people are a little bit more slow. They take the time to have coffee together, a lunch, a meal. Their family meals are important.
Yeah.
Sometimes here it's like, I enforce it. We try to do a few family meals at least a week, even though it's like, my girls work, everyone's schedule's off crazy, but I force it. Somehow we have to manage it. And a lot of families, they never have that. It's like everyone's either door dashing, someone's eating from the TV, someone's eating in the car.
Yeah.
So what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that people who, it's a chronic hurry. I mean, chronic busyness, chronic hurry. I think there's the bulk of us. I mean, I think the world, we're skimming life. We're not living life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We really aren't soaking up the feels.
To add on, not to interrupt you, but I just heard recently somebody was saying that we don't live life. We go to work, we do our things, and then we watch TV, living other people live life. Like it's like a fantasy
Yeah.
instead of
Oh,
actually being present in our own life. It's like, let's binge on Netflix and see how
yep.
these amazing people are doing on TV.
Truth. Yeah.
So,
No, I think when our schedules align with our core values, we're going to find peace and we're going to slow down. It's just, is it important to you? We talk, so many people talk about how I can't make breaks or I don't have time or whatever. That's really, I mean, generally speaking, that's baloney. We create time for the
mhm.
things that we value.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that, if for your listeners, for your audience, I would start there. I would make a list of 5 things. These are my core values. These are the things that are important to me. For me, personally, it's my family. And but you'll make a list of 5 things, and at the end of the week or the end of the month or at the end of the quarter or whatever, if you look at your schedule and you broke it all down, what percentage are you placing in reality
To your values,
to your
right?
values? And how many, it's crazy how many people have stuff that aren't ranked in their top 5 taking up massive percentages of their time. So then if it's important to you, because I don't believe in balance, I believe in priorities,
Right.
because it's just not realistic and not everything's going to be 50-50. But if I want my family to be number one, when I look at my schedule at the end of the week, at the end of the month, whatever, it needs to be number one. If it's whatever your number one is. But yeah, I think that like I said, I think the bulk of people are skimming life. They're not living life. And that if our mind truly is, the portal to whatever, our heart, our soul, or whatever, we ought to start treating it that way. We ought to, if it's that important to us, if the 6 inches between us, our ears, is that important to us, then we need to start prioritizing it.
Very true. Very true. I love it. Don't skim life, listeners. Live it instead.
Live it, sister.
Yes. So now Brad here has done an incredible TED Talk. I think that's how I kind of discovered you. And so I listened to the TED Talk. I watched it. I was very moved. You did an incredibly beautiful job. And I just felt everything that you were feeling as a parent. I just wanted you to share a little bit. I want my listeners to go back and watch it, but just give us a little bit of, what the topic is about and why you decided to do this topic.
Yeah, well, my niche is positive leadership. And when they first approached me and they asked me what they kind of did, some of the same questions you're asking me today. What is it you do, and who is it you help, and how did you get to this point? I just said, well, this is how I got to it. Really, my son on the autism spectrum was such a big deal, is such a big deal. This is my story. This is his story. And then it just kind of evolved from there. And people seem to connect with my story about my kiddo and some of the
Because you
other
were
stories.
speaking your truth. And when you're
Yeah.
honest, people make that connection.
Yep, totally. And it was from the heart and radically authentic. And I just, put myself out there, and it's gone pretty
Well,
good.
one thing that I really love that I want you to just share with us is in your TED Talk, you make a reference to the frog story.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want you to tell like a brief version of this frog superpower. When I listened to you and I thought about it, I'm like, it's so true. Right. But you can just give a little bit about it so that our
Yeah.
listeners can get excited to listen
Yeah.
to the whole thing.
Well, I'll try to give, I might just give the whole thing. It's hard to tell the story without the
Yeah,
ending,
I
without
guess to
kind of,
get to the main
yeah.
thing. Okay,
But
sure, go for it.
are you okay with that?
Yeah,
Do we
yeah,
have
of
time for
course,
that?
we're fine.
Okay. Um, so there's this great frog race every single year, the Great Frog Race Championships, the biggest race in the world. And every year all these frogs just congregate to this one hill called Death Hill. It's called Death Hill because nobody in its entire existence has ever conquered Death Hill. And sometimes frogs will get going and they just get tired and quit. Sometimes they'd get dehydrated. Sometimes they'd pass out. Some frogs would die. And one day, while everyone's kind of just talking at the bottom of the hill and nervous and all these things, there's this frog that comes out of nowhere, and he just starts hopping, and he's hopping and he's hopping, and all these other frogs start to take notice, and they're thinking, what is this guy doing? And they start screaming at him, you're not big enough, you're not strong enough, you're not good enough, you're not enough. And yet the frog just keeps going and makes it all the way to the top. Incredible. Makes it all the way to the top. Never done before. Well, he starts hopping down the hill. The frog starts hopping down the hill. And naturally, all these reporters at the bottom of the hill, when he gets to the bottom, they're like, how'd you do it? What was your plan? How were you strong enough to do this? How were you enough to do this? And they're just going 100 miles an hour. And the frog asks him to stop and says kindly, I can read lips, but I'm hard of hearing. Could you please slow down? Incredible. And what's incredible about this story is that this frog, he didn't hear the naysayers, didn't
Hmm.
hear the outside noise, didn't need anyone's approval or anyone's permission to be the best version of itself. It didn't need any of that. All it needed was to believe from the inside that it was good enough. And I think that's the moral of the story, is that we don't need other people's permission to be fantastic. And I go on to say in the TED talk, I mean, when have you fallen short in your life simply because you did not buy into the juice that you bring to the table?
Yep.
So that's kind of not the full version, but a lot of it. Yeah.
I love that story. And I feel like it gives such a powerful message when we think about just shutting all that negative talk, not letting people tell us. Like, if when you have like a dream or you want to do something, or if you have a disability, and if you keep listening to all the outside voices, that will stop you. But if you stop listening and kind of do what you know that you can do, it's a complete different journey for you. So that's an incredibly powerful story. Do you think it's important to focus more on our strengths than our
Mm.
weaknesses? And do you think that we all have a superpower that we
I
just
do.
don't know, that we have to kind of search for and look into?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think it's our birthright to be excellent. I think we all have something incredible inside us. I think we all have purpose. Sometimes it just takes digging it out a little bit. And sometimes it takes having the right people around you. Most great things in life, it takes a village. You're not going to do it yourself. And we assimilate to the people we associate.
Hmm.
So we want to make sure we're surrounding ourselves with good people. But yeah, I absolutely believe that we all have juice. We all have it in the tank. Um, it's just simply how we frame success and how we frame everything. If we frame things the right way, everyone's going to dip into pity city. Like, everyone's going to dip their toes in pity city. We all have low moments.
Of course.
That's normal, right? But you don't stay in pity city if you have the right mindset.
Right.
You don't stay there. It hurts because you feel and you care. Uh, if it didn't hurt, that would be concerning. But if you have the right mindset, you're not going to stay there. You're going to understand that we're all flawed. There's not a person in this universe that didn't come into this world flawed. We're all flawed.
Of
We
course.
all have junk in the trunk, right?
Hmm.
I call it having too many socks in the top drawer sometimes. Like, you have too many socks in the top drawer and you just can't get that bad boy shut. We all,
And we all do.
yeah, we all got that.
Brad, when you talk, I really, and I know my listeners do too, but I hear this like extreme passion in what you do. Tell me, why are you so passionate about your work?
I've loved helping people my entire life. I was the kid in elementary that gave the playground duty hugs because I knew she liked it probably more than I liked it.
I love those kids.
Right? But I was also the kid that was bullied. I was the kid that had low self-esteem.
Mhm.
I was the person that was depressed, not knowing where to go next. Like, am I doing the right things? Am I making the right decisions? I've been the person that's not, I don't want to say rock bottom, but lost. And I've been the person who found people and mentors and coaches and professors and whatnot that really cared, that they cared. They made a difference in my life. And I know how that felt. And I don't forget that. I didn't forget what it was like for someone else to believe in me. I really don't like that it took this, but it took other people really believing in me for me to have the courage to advocate for myself. I shouldn't have needed that, but I did. That was a turning point for me really early in my life, when I found other people that believed in it. Anyway, I have all these things. I mean, I don't come from a perfect background. I have family that has been in trouble with the law. Uh, I have family members that were in gangs. My mom was married once before she met my dad. I mean, there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of good stuff too. All right, there's a lot of really good stuff,
Right.
but I hang on to all of them, and I remember how it felt. And I want my legacy to be is how I made others feel. When I'm gone from this world, I want to live on in others. I want to make them feel amazing. I want them to learn how to be phenomenal. I want them to know that they have phenomenal running in their veins right now. I want them to feel success.
I feel the same way. It's always I actually do ask a lot of my guests about what do you want your legacy to be? Because that's so important. Because that goes again back to success, to what we see as our success, what is our values. At the end of the day, when we're gone, what do we want people to say about us? Like, what have we done? Have we made a difference? Have you made someone feel good? Has someone learned from us? I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what it's all about, right? You've also written a book, I mean, on top of everything else that you do, called The DNA of a Winner, 8 Steps to Building the Soul Print of a Winner. Can you share one of the steps with us today so we can learn how we can become winners as well?
Sure. Well, I'll say this too. I mean, we can share all this content, and it's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Greatest coaches, greatest teachers, greatest leaders, greatest whatever. It's what you do with what you have. So, I mean, one of the parts of the book talks about choosing the right attitude. I don't think success is chance, success is choice. Attitude is choice. Being a winner is choice. And man, I would just go back to what I was saying earlier. Ask yourself, learn how to ask the right questions. Read. Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to, I mean, jump on your show. You do such a great job. I would, everyone listening to this, make sure you subscribe to her. Make sure you subscribe. Look for signs of success. That contributes to your attitude. If you surround yourself with people who smoke, you're going to have a hard time not smoking. If you
Right.
surround yourself with winners, it's not easy to become a winner, but it's easier. If you surround people with a negative, half glass half empty, fixed mindset, you're going to assimilate to that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So put stuff on your walls, wear stuff on your t-shirts, find books that are going to add value to your life. I think James Clear says something like this. I don't know how many of you have read the book Atomic Habits. It's a good one. Every action you take is a vote for the person you wish to become.
Wow.
Every action you take is a vote for the person you wish to become. If you want to become a person who steps into the room and just it got better, it's better because you're in it. Well, it's not because you're 6'7" and yoked. It's not because you have a 40-inch vertical, or you're when you were in high school you had the highest SAT score in the school, or that you have your master's degree. It's because of your attitude.
Right.
Your attitude, it's being reflected through your body language. It's being reflected through the way you're interacting with them. It's being reflected through what is it you're prioritizing. They can see whether relationships are important to you or not. They can see it through your attitude.
First impressions, right? Because it's like 93% is, based on those non-verbal cues, and 7% is through your words. So it's like, that's so important. Like you're saying, when you enter that room, the
Yep.
first moment, you are being judged already through whatever is happening without people even getting a chance to get to know you.
No doubt. Yeah. People that say they don't like to be judged, I got bad news for you. I mean, if you're watching this video right now, you were sizing me up the moment I got on here.
It's so
You
true.
know what I mean? We all get sized up. It's
Yeah.
just part of life. And that's part of like, where are your lens at? Are your lens in the right place? Because I'm not worried about, that's not totally true. I do think about that stuff. But at the end of the day, I invest in the best version of me. And if the person sitting across from me isn't down with that, I might be bummed. Maybe it was a job I wanted. Maybe it was
Right.
whatever. I can
But
be
you don't
bummed
let
about.
it take control. That's the
No,
key.
exactly.
That's the whole key. Because we all, we care. Like if we hear someone has said something about us, or you get a bad review
Totally.
or something, it bothers you. But as long as you don't let it take over you where you can't move on. That's the whole way of how you react to it.
Yeah. If I could add, confidence plays such a big deal in this. It's really easy for you and I to say these kind of things. I'm a pretty confident guy. And so, but I'm not confident. I'm confident because I choose to make it a verb. It's doing. Confidence, something you do. You don't
Right.
wait to be motivated. You take action and then the motivation comes. And I would suggest to your audience that they follow ABCs when they're trying to carry a good attitude, choose confidence, these kind of things. ABCs: act big, breathe big, commit big. Act big. Like I said, confidence is an act.
Right.
It's something you do. Breathe big. We talked about being clear between the ears and confident between the ears almost this entire episode. All these things go back to the 6 inches between our ears.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't be those things without clarity. And you can't have clarity if your heart's going 100 miles an hour. Like, we need to learn how to slow our heart down. The
So you said
best.
act big, breathe big. What was the last one?
And commit big.
Commit big.
Commit big to the things that are important to you. Commit big to the things important. The things that we're prioritizing, the things that we're choosing to value, the things that we're budgeting into our schedule, budgeting into our thought. We got to commit big to those things. And like we've been saying, those things are important to us. It
Right.
it doesn't matter if it's not important to other people. These are important to us. It's us. Today, everywhere you and I go, there we are. The most important thing we invest in today is us.
But very well said, Brad. I mean, I could sit here and talk to you all day and listen to you, and I feel positive and pumped up for like anything that comes along. And I'm going to use your ABCs. I love that. Well, I mean, I highly recommend getting Brad's book and to understand all his 8 steps, and definitely watching his TED Talk to learn his message about being a winner. We've learned that life presents different struggles, but our reactions define our true strength. Brad faced a profound challenge when his son was diagnosed with autism. Despite his experience as an educator working with autistic children, the reality of his own son's future, filled with potential difficulties and challenges, was a heavy burden to bear. But Brad chose to transform his pain into a gift. He discarded his rigid checklist and embraced a slower, more mindful approach. He focused on nurturing what his son would become, and we keep talking about becoming, and who he would grow into during this journey. With unwavering patience and dedication, he guided his son, and in the process discovered a new strength within himself. Let's shift our focus from chasing specific outcomes to embracing a transformative journey. By doing so, we become winners of our own game. Thank you, Brad, for being a guest on my show today. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I appreciate you, sister. Thanks for carving out some space for me and for your listeners today.
Of course, it was my pleasure. All the links will be shared in my show notes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today to Female Fluence. Together, we can influence and motivate other mind-like females. Your job is to feel alive, be in control, and always be true to your own self. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can continue feeling inspired. All the links and notes from this episode will be posted on my website, femalefluence.com. Don't forget to also follow me at Female Fluence on both Instagram and Facebook. Lastly, if you are in need of a woman empowerment life coach to help you identify the barriers that keep you from living the life you seek, please send an email to info@femalefluence.org. Remember, my friends, don't just exist, but live your life to the fullest. I'm your host, Pearl Mashur. Until we talk next time.